Does anyone else feel like Justin Jefferson was drafted like 9 years ago? That's what it seems like. But every single pick, the record-setting 15 picks for the 7-round drafts, just amazing. They had 17. They were up to 17. But Rick Spielman, there's a little bit of everything here. There were moments of sheer brilliance. There were moments of, and everything was quintessential Rick Spielman. Stuck to his tendencies, got all of his picks. Now already has 12 picks going into 2021. So I think overall, you don't grade a draft right afterwards, but overall, I would say this is an A-. I mean, it would have been an A++. It would have been an absolute perfect score. It would have been a 36 on the ACT, but then rounds 5, 6, 7 happened. We'll get into every single pick, but overall macro view. So a couple of trade downs. Of course, the one from 25 to 31 the first round got some extra sugar from the Niners, as well as the trade down with the Bears, trade down with the Ravens, eventually netted the Vikings, the Bears 2021 4th-round pick, the Ravens 2021 5th-round pick to pair up with the Bills already giving the 4th-rounder from the Stephon Diggs trade. Vikings set up pretty good, so they'll be able to move around next year as well. I'm sure Rick Spielman's looking forward to that. But question mark. So the offensive line, we said it's got to be O-line, O-line, O-line. They need at least 2 early contributors. They came away with 1. It's pretty damn good. About Ezra Cleveland at 58. I was pretty damn excited. So I think Riley Reiff remains, whether he's at left tackle or left guard, still TBD. No Trent Williams. As much as Washington was trying to just work and contort the media to their own ends, it's just so... Yeah, and here's how delusional Washington fans are. They'll look at that 5th and future 3rd and be like, we won. You did not. You lost pretty badly. Josh Klein, could he be back? Since the Vikings really eschewed from going into your offensive line until really late into the draft, maybe it is a sign that Josh Klein potentially is going to re-sign at a lower rate, as well as could this be a big belief in Drew Samia in year 2, Oli Udo in year 2? That's still all TBD. But overall with Ezra Cleveland, pretty excited. Yeah, they went hard on defensive line. So DJ Wanham, James Lynch, our man, as well as Willa Kiss, were absolute Rudy, absolute heart and hustle dude. I mean, they have a type. Again, Andre Patterson, some day 3, work their ass off dudes. It's just going to be a really nice mix. Zimmer always gets his DBs. So the Vikings, Xavier, gone, mercifully. Trey Wayne's gone. Mac Alexander, gone. Andrew Stahill, gone. Jaron Kearse, gone. So 5 guys gone. They drafted 5 defensive backs. So Hefe Gladney, Cameron Dantzler, Metellus, Harrison Hand, as well as Brian Cole II. It's a nice little group. They all bring a little bit something to the table. Also, a lot of these guys, you look at Troy Dye, you look at the defensive backs, a lot of them do have multiple position value, or a lot of them are tweeners, where actually I think tweeners, especially in the defensive backs and linebackers, is a lot more appealing nowadays because there is so many sub packages, because teams are putting running backs and tight ends and big receivers in the slot. There are so many like niche roles on the defense now that it goes beyond like the boilerplate. This is your 4-3. These are your 4 defensive backs. Best of luck to you. No, everyone has multiple roles now, and Zimmer sees this, and I think that's why they've got so many unique ingredients adding to this stew. Because baby, we got a stew going. A wide receiver class. So historically great wide receiver class, and you only take 2. So Justin Jefferson at 22, I think that was BPA, makes a lot of sense. 5th round, and then you don't take another wide receiver till the 5th round. You pass over Tyler Johnson. You pass up Brandon Ayuk. Well, he's in the 1st round. Well, I'm worried that Brandon Ayuk and or James Prochet are going to blow up with the picks that the Vikings traded out of, but nah. But the way until the 5th round got KJ Osborne out of the U, going to be a return guy, as well as early reports say that Courtney Davis from Texas A&M, nice little receiver, is coming in as a UDFA. I'm sure there'll be like 17 bazillion UDFAs in the next like hour coming in, but we'll worry about the draft picks for now. So I think overall it was a draft day of 2 halves. I mean, the first half was Rick Spielman pitching a no-hitter, and then around like the 6th inning, they're like, hey, no. And then at times, I mean, that may be a little bit too harsh, but Rick Spielman is a fan of the people. If he had an absolute perfect draft that everyone loved, there would be nothing for us to bitch about, and then bitching about things is the best part about sports. So Rick Spielman is looking out for us, you and I. It's amazing. So let's get into the picks. 22 overall. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver at LSU, ended up being the 5th wide receiver off the board. Brandon Ayuk, just kidding, Jalen Reagor, went 21 to the Eagles. Now, highly productive LSU. I was a little down on Jefferson just because I think he's going to be a strictly slot in the NFL, but obviously I'm rooting for him. Obviously, I'm hoping good things for him. I think he will be an absolute stud if he's able to get off press coverage and get himself open in the NFL. But also, the Vikings now have like 17 slot receivers. So they got Thielen, they got Jefferson, they got Osborne, and they got Irv Smith. They should pick up KJ Hill and then traded for Cooper Kupp. Also in the first round, so going back from 25 to 31, Hefe Gladney, quarterback at TCU, guy that I really love. Stylistically, just really matches up well with what Zimmer does. Alpha, feisty. Yes, he is old. Yes, he turns 24 in December, but whatever. We'll get the best years of him here for cheap. Will jump routes, is an absolute ball hawk as well, and you just love that swagger. You just love swagger in cornerbacks. That's why I was sort of down on Rhodes. I mean, Rhodes was quiet and kept himself until he had a limp off, and then Waynes was like very, very quiet. So I was like, yeah, give me some more chirping cornerbacks. Let's get back to that. Second round, so the board could not have broken better for the Vikings. There's only one offensive lineman taken ahead in the second round, Robert Hunt, ended up going to the Dolphins, but they had their choice. They had their choice of Josh Jones and or Ezra Cleveland, and it was amazing. Ezra Cleveland, a great athlete, Brian O'Neill clone, perfect zone scheme fit, great in pass sets, does need to add a little bit of size, but left tackle of the future. Now, there's been talk maybe they kick him inside to guard. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think he has anchor. I don't know if he can get low enough to play with enough leverage to play on the inside, but cross that bridge when it gets there. Like, I would prefer to start Ezra Cleveland at left tackle right away, put Reef in at left guard, let Ezra Cleveland take his lumps, but because that's where he's going to be long term anyway. But overall, like, if the draft ended now, I would have been absolutely stunned and happy with just this amazingness. 89. So into the third round, the first of the 2 third-round picks that was supposedly going to be there. Cameron Dantzler, cornerback on Mississippi State. Now, he was the dude who had the really off 40 at the combine, but redeemed himself. Now, he definitely didn't play as slow as the 4.64 at the combine. He doesn't play as fast as the 4.38 at his pro day, but checks the boxes athletically. Just a long press man corner. Thrives in red zone and jump ball situations. Needs to add a lot of weight. Needs to fill out quite a bit. But you're seeing that Zimmer does have a type now. Bring in Dantzler. Bring in Gladney. Mike Hughes hopefully returns to form. He wants to get back to press coverage, man-to-man, belt buckle to belt buckle. Hey, that's your guy. That's your guy. That's your guy. Man up across the board, and I'm gonna blitz the hell out of these suckers on third down. I'm really excited to get back to the spicy Zimmer Hellfire defense. So the Vikings traded 105. The third round for the entire Saints draft pick, by the way. So fourth round, 117, DJ Wanham, edge rusher coming out of South Carolina. Now, this is a bit of the first, because big traits, solid athlete. Could he be a defensive end? Could he be a 3-4 stand-up outside linebacker? Don't really know. But does have the physical traits. Is he the next Daniil Hunter? Maybe. Is he the next Anthony DeBar? Maybe. Is he a little bit of both? I mean, it's quite possible as the Vikings toy with potentially moving to a hybrid or a 3-4 scheme. So where Wanham fits in, I'm not really sure as of right now. Plus, there were a lot more polished, more NFL-ready edge rushers coming in, but this is what the Vikings like to do. They like to pick up physical projects on day 3, give them to Andre Patterson, and then all of a sudden in a year or two, the guys are absolute studs, so I'm not going to question the process right now. Also in the fourth round, speaking of defensive line, my guy, James Lynch, coming out of Baylor. Now, he was an edge in college, set the sack record at Baylor, unanimous All-American, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, all the accolades, you know what to do. But is he going to kick inside? He's going to play some 3-tech, maybe play some 5-tech if the Vikings go to 3-4. I don't care. Just get his ass on the field. Absolute heart and hustle, whirling dervish of activity, and I'm hyped. I'm hyped. Like the Lynch pick, the Gladney pick, the Ezra Cleveland pick, check. All my guys fully in. Also in the fourth round. So this could be a legit round of the future. 132, Troy Dye, linebacker coming out of Oregon. Coverage savant. Basically like a tweener. Is he a linebacker? Is he a safety? Decent tackler. Certainly needs to work on that, but can cover ground like no one else. A leader, team captain, super sub package guy, going to play a lot of special teams. I think that's a really nice pickup for the Vikings here, especially as they look to replace Jaron Kearse, because there's going to be a number of guys that are going to be working that big nickel, big slot type role, and I think Troy Dye is going to be one of them too. Fifth round, so 169, Harrison Hand, cornerback coming out of Temple. Was formerly at Baylor, used to be teammates with James Lynch. Decided to move closer to home because he's from New Jersey. Went back to Temple. Had a nice final year in Philadelphia. Now, he's an outside cornerback. There's been talk that he could potentially move to safety, which would make a lot of sense too, especially free safety, since the other safeties that they brought in, Metellus is a little bit of everything, as well as Brian Cole is a straight-up box safety. Yeah, we'll get into that. Fifth round, 176 overall, KJ Osborne, wide receiver from the U. Now he was a transfer, was originally at the University of Buffalo, and I got it wrong on his profile video. He's not from Miami originally. He's from Michigan. So then he went to Buffalo, and then he went to the U for a year. Had about 500 yards receiving, but that's not the point. Is going to be a kick return, is going to be a punt return dude. It's interesting that they went that route. Rick specifically went for a specialist over some other polished projects like Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan, KJ Hill from Ohio State, James Prochet, of course, from SMU, Quez Watkins from Southern Miss, end up going to the Eagles. So, I mean, that's TBD. What's going to happen with Osborne? I don't really see him cracking the receiver rotation at first. I think he'll have to make it as a return guy. But also, it could speak to how they feel about Tajay Sharp, how they feel about B.C. Johnson, that they didn't feel like, hey, we got Jefferson, we're good. We don't need to double dip in these middle rounds. Sixth round, at 2 picks. So 203, Blake Brandel, left tackle coming out of Oregon State, was a 3-year starter for the Beavers. Last year, greatly improved from 2018, only allowed 1 sack and 5 pressures for Jake Luton, ended up going in the draft somewhere. I forget. It's almost like there's 250 picks or something. But great hands, not that fleet of foot. Does need to add size. It is quite skinny, especially in the legs. There have been talk about him moving to guard. I mean, take all the reasons why I would not move Ezra Cleveland to guard and amplify them with Brandel, where he's 6'7". I don't think he has a low enough center of gravity to play inside. I don't think he can anchor it well enough inside. I don't think he has great athleticism to play left guard in his own scheme, as well as I don't know if he can get low enough to be able to play with leverage. But other than that, he's a really good guard. Also in the 6th round, 205. So this guy, I really like. Josh Metellus, safety out of Michigan. Just a mature kid, absolute leader, team first guy. Is going to be a special teamer, do it all safety. He can play free safety. He can play box. He can play slot. He can play cornerback in some spot. He is the quintessential jack of all trades, master of none. But that's what you need, frankly, as a backup safety. A guy that is going to be doing it all. If someone goes down, you bring him in, sub package, lots of flexibility. Plus, wherever he's lined up on the field, it isn't necessarily a tell of what the coverage is going to be, what the defense is going to be doing in that spot, just because Josh does a lot of things really well. So I'm excited to get value like that in the 6th round. Into the 7th round. So Kenny Willekes, edge rusher from Michigan State. Now, he was probably the biggest drop in terms of where consensus, NFL draft people saw him going. And he is a walk-on at Michigan State. He's the Rudy. He's the absolute guy who just worked his way up, set the tackles for loss record at Michigan State, had double-digit sacks last year, 2-time first-team All-Big Ten, just an absolute heart and hustle, lunch pail, gritty, whatever cliche you want to use. But the Vikings, I mean, the defensive line has been put on notice. I mean, the D-line was already pretty deep, right? But bringing more guys like James Lynch, like DJ Wanham, like Kenny Willekes, it's on. It is absolutely on in the Andre Patterson world this year. Also in the 7th round, 244. So Nate Stanley. So Vikings decided to go Nate Stanley, quarterback from Iowa. Big kid, big arm, could not move, is not accurate. But other than that, he is really, really good. Also in the 7th round, 249. So Brian Cole, a second safety from Mississippi State. Originally started as a wide receiver at Michigan, went to East Mississippi Community College. Yes, Last Chance U. Eventually got his way on basically a 1-year starter for the Bulldogs. And teammate of Cameron Dantzler. They played him at slot cornerback, which no. I think he's purely a box safety, but more likely just going to be one of those special teams guys. He is a massive hitter. He's a great tackler. He's going to bring a lot of value in that respect. And then lastly, Rick ignores the interior offensive line, where I do not think that Brandell is going to move inside. I don't want Cleveland to move inside either. So the Vikings, out of 15 picks, they used the last one in the 7th round on the only interior offensive lineman, Kyle Hinton, guard from Washburn. Now, this is a guy who, by the way, only played tackle in college too. So the Vikings actually drafted no interior offensive lineman, but he's going to project inside. He's 6'2", 295. He is an explosive athlete, has a 34.5-inch vert, was great in the bench, ran a 4.88 40, I believe. So this is a massive long-term project. Like, we'll see what Hinton is like in 2 years. Get him in an NFL strength program, get him in a couple of camps, let him play in preseason a few times. He'll be on the practice squad. But the upside is really unique and really interesting to see what they have here. But overall, I mean, the draft started out phenomenal. There's a couple of questionable picks later on, but that is the flexibility that you have when you have 15 picks because, of course, not every pick is going to be a home run. You're going to strike out on a couple of them, and you can take some chances. I mean, not everyone was on board with DJ Wanham, with guys like Curtis Weaver were on board. Not everyone was on board with KJ Osborne, when some other more polished receivers were on board. Not everyone, well, no one was on board with Nate Stanley, but he's here. Great. Like, Nate Stanley versus Jake Browning. Who do you want to see win the job less? Yeah, one of those spots. But I think the Vikings, like we said, they had to come in, check. Cornerback, check. Offensive line, check to a degree. Wide receiver, also check to a degree. But just the depth that they got in the secondary as well as on the defensive line, this could be a historic draft. I mean, for Spielman needed to hit a home run. He needed to knock it out of the park for this draft because this team was changing. There was a lot of turnover in veteran players. There's a lot of turnover in leadership. And yes, this is going to be probably the youngest team in the league. I mean, that's what happens when you have 15 draft picks. And I would say probably 10 of them may make the roster, 10, 11, 12 possibly. So it's going to be a very intriguing youth movement, but I think the Vikings are off to a great start. I think this is a very talented group, and it's a draft that's going to define this franchise for many, many years to come. But your thoughts on the Vikings 2020 NFL Draft, let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. If you would like to support the work, for the work that we've done over the last 3 days, put a little something in that Venmo, plus give us a follow on social media as well. Until next time, Skol, production value.